In his encyclical on St. Joseph, Pope St. John Paul II meditates on Joseph, the worker. Work was the daily expression of love in the life of the family of Nazareth. The gospel specifies the kind of work Jesus did in order to support his family. He was a carpenter. This simple word sums up Joseph's entire life. For Jesus, these were hidden years, the years to which Luke refers after recounting the episode that occurred in the temple. And he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them. This submission or obedience of Jesus in the house of Nazareth should be understood as a sharing in the work of Joseph. Having learned the work of his presumed father, he was known as the carpenter's son. If the family of Nazareth is an example and model for human families in the order of salvation and holiness, so too, by analogy, is Jesus' work at the site of Joseph, the carpenter. In our own day, the church has emphasized this by instituting the memorial of St. Joseph, the worker, on May 1st. Human work, and especially manual labor, receives special prominence in the gospel. Along with the humanity of the Son of God, work too has been taken up in the mystery of the Incarnation and has also been redeemed in a special way. Isn't that interesting? The Pope says that work has been redeemed in a special way. At the workbench, when he plied his trade together with Jesus, Joseph brought human work closer to the mystery of the redemption. In the human growth of Jesus in wisdom, age, and grace, the virtue of industriousness played a notable role, since work is a human good which transforms nature and makes man, in a sense, more human. It's rather interesting. Work transforms nature and makes man more human. The importance of work in human life demands that its meaning be known and assimilated in order to help all people to come closer to God, the Creator and Redeemer, to participate in his salvific plan for man and the world, and to deepen friendship with Christ in their lives by accepting through faith a living participation in the threefold mission of priest, prophet, and king. What is crucially important here is the sanctification of daily life, a sanctification which each person must acquire according to his or her own state, and one which can be promoted according to a model accessible to all people. Sweeping the floor can be a means of sanctification. Taking out the garbage can be a means of sanctification. Doing the lowliest tasks can be a means of sanctification. St. Joseph is the model of those humble ones that Christianity raises up to great destinies. He is the proof that in order to be a good and genuine follower of Christ, there is no need of great things. It is enough to have the common, simple, and human virtues, but they need to be true and authentic. Pope Francis said the same thing in that apostolic exhortation, that we can become a saint in the very situation in which we find ourselves. Those of us who went to Dominican school always put at the top of our papers, JMJD, St. Dominic. And we did that because we wanted to offer up our work in honor of them and let our work be meritorious. You went to a Jesuit school, you put at the top of your papers AMDG, Ad Maiorem Gloriam Dei, all for the greater glory of God. Bishop Sheen, when he gave his television talks, always put JMJ at the top of the blackboard, because he wanted to make sure that his preaching and his work was done in honor of the Holy Family of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. It's rather interesting that Sister Miriam in that first reading read, from there they sailed to Antioch, where they had been commended to the grace of God for the work they had now accomplished. After they would admit it was not they who accomplished it, but God accomplished it through them. Notice their preaching was work that was accomplished. We think of Joseph and Jesus in the carpenter shop sanctifying human work, but we really have to go beyond that. What was the real work of St. Joseph? What was his real work? To be a chaste spouse of the Blessed Mother, to be a guardian of our blessed Lord. St. Alphonsus Liguori said that the measure of a saint, in many ways, and the dignity of a saint, is determined by the intimacy that saint has with the Incarnation. Well, there are two that had a most intimate connection with the Incarnation. Mary, who gave birth, conceived and gave birth. Joseph, who guarded that Incarnation. He was referred to as the Redeemer of the Redeemer, or the Protector of the Protector, the Guardian of Christ. There's a great lesson for us in that. My work is to grow in holiness as a Dominican priest. That's my work. Your work, if you're married, is to grow in grace, to be a good husband or wife to your spouse, a good mother and father to your children, grandchildren. That's the real work that we have to do. For the sisters, to live the cloistered, and for the externs, the chaste life in what they do to save souls by praying every day. The divine office, which is always referred to as the opus Dei, the work of God. The sisters in this monastery every day perform the work of God, the opus Dei, and they do it for their own salvation and for the salvation of souls. That's their work. That's the work that God has given them to do. The most important work is to save one's soul. That's the most important work. And so as we reflect on the life of Joseph, yes, he was the carpenter, and it must have been a great privilege for him to, can you imagine being with God, working in that carpenter shop? But his greatest work was to protect the salvation that was given to us in Jesus. And that's why he is the patron saint of the church. Just as he watched over the Holy Family, so he now watches over the mystical body. Joseph's work still continues as he watches over each one of us.